Well, as the National Economic Council has given his own reservation about the tax reform bills and said withdrawing from the National Assembly, the northern state governors at that meeting and some traditional rulers in Kaduna were also complaining and debating or arguing that that is not in the interest of the North. The presidency has been reacting to the fears by the governors of the North that a tax reform bill before the National Assembly is targeted at the 19 northern states, where the governors of the 19 northern states had rejected the bill, especially the proposed amendment to the distribution of value-added tax to a derivation-based model. The presidential spokesperson, Bayo Onanuga, today says the new proposal, as enunciated in the bill, is designed to create a fairer system that will benefit all states. Onanuga says that the strategy to President Bola Tinubu in fixing the issues in the country is very specific and strategic, and instead that the ongoing tax reform seeks to correct the inequity in the current derivation model as a basis for distributing VAT revenue in the country. It says, quote, while we commend the governors and traditional rulers for supporting President Bola Tinubu over the success recorded in addressing the country's security challenges, we consider it necessary to address the misunderstanding and misgivings around the tax reform already embarked upon by the administration, end of quote. Let's spend a few seconds or minutes on this matter. Let me bring in an expert, Iniobong Ulsen, who is the head research and policy at Budget. He joins us virtually live from Cross River. Thank you so much, Iniobong, for joining us. Give us an understanding. I mean, in the coinage or in the drafting of that bill, I don't know if you have read that draft. Does it raise, what part of it is it the semantics? Is it the technical language? Or what exactly raised the fears of the governor to the point that the NEC today has said, withdraw that bill? You know, it appears you are muted. All right, we'll fix that audio and probably come back to you in a moment. Let's take care of that if we can. Mr. Iniobong Ulsen, who is the head research and policy at Budget, to give us some professional insight into what NEC has done today. They made a position known that withdraw the tax reform bill sent by the presidency to the National Assembly. Some of the argument that was put forward by some of the governors and those who attended NEC today, what is your own professional assessment of what happened today?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. I mean, it's a good thing that we're now discussing or debating the intergovernmental fiscal relations that exist among the states. In my own opinion, is long overdue. The terms of existing as a federation, in my own opinion, must be robustly negotiated and contested by the federating units to arrive, at a consensus that works for all. But, it is evident that the fiscal equalization arrangements that have been in place have not worked as intended, to reduce inequality, amongst the states. And this is emphasized by the recent State of State report released by Budget, that 32 states, relied on FAC receipts for at least 50% of their total revenue, while about 14 states relied on FAC for at least 70% of their total revenue. What's more, 34 states relied on FAC for at least 62% of their total recurrent revenue, while, 21 states relied on FAC receipts for at least 80% of their total recurrent revenue. Now, we all agree that the pie is too small. Not only is it too small, that's speaking to the national pie, but it is inequitably shared, amongst the vertically amongst the three tiers and horizontally across the subnational units or the 36 states, as the case may be. And then what we've seen over time is that these fiscal equalization arrangements also have turned quite a number of states to rentier states that just wait till the end of every month, go to FAC meetings, collect FAC, and they have not been able to do what needs to be done to mobilize revenues internally. So it's a good thing that we're contesting, some of the arrangements that have existed over time and, have, fostered inequality among the states.
Yeah, so,
but if I come to the meat of the matter, right, the position taken by the northern governors, in my own opinion, are valid in the sense that at the core of it is the fact that we are not able to tell for now what the origin of certain VAT due to states are. So the VAT is paid at sort of the headquarters level, and so we are not able to tell the VAT due the states as a result of the consumption happening in those states. But I think these are things that can be resolved by further consultation. I do not think we're at the point where the bill needs to be recalled. I agree that further consultation needs to be done. I'm equally aware that a number of consultations have happened both at the level of NEC and the NGF, but it would seem that now that it's coming to life, that a lot more actors are apprehensive. So the debate must continue. We must continue to negotiate the terms for which we exist as different federating units within the federation.
Let's get it clearly. And I assume that you've seen the draft bill sent to the National Assembly. It's supposed to be an executive bill sent to the National Assembly for the amendment of the tax system laws in Nigeria. But give us an understanding. How come the northern leaders feel that this is an ethnic or religious regional skill against the north? What is in the semantics or in the technical arrangement of the language, or what exactly is giving the northern leaders this fear that is in that document?
Well, I do not agree with that stand, because I think that any state, that is not productive in quotes, should be one state that should be worried. Because if we're able to tell the origin of consumption and then VAT is allocated vis-a-vis that, then any state, where productivity is high and then people's disposable incomes are high enough for them to consume, such states wouldn't be worried. And so I do not think that this goes along any ethnic or religious lines. The matter at heart here is derivation. And I think it's time that we begin to discuss how states can begin to contribute to the pie. The current system as currently run, like I had mentioned earlier, has made a lot of states lazy. And so things that they would do with regards to agriculture, for instance, for states that have arable land for agriculture, are things that are not happening. In places where services could be, supported for revenues to accrue to government, in those places, a lot of things to improve the ease of doing business, that government could do are slow. If you look at the investment priorities of the states as well, it doesn't suggest that for some states that they are willing to invest in areas that would stimulate the economies of the state. You see the current quest for a lot of state governors to, build airports, regardless of the traffic that would go to those airports in those states, as against redirecting, such funds to the agri value chain, where productivity, can be ramped up, and then revenues can accrue to government. So I think it's the conversations are right with regards to having the conversations around derivation and how the different states can contribute to growing the pie. The percentage with regards to the derivation for VAT can be negotiated, but I think the certainty that the states need is that, if you decide to go this route, what is the assurance that goods consumed in our states, and VAT paid as a result, would, be routed back to the states? And what that question is once we're able to answer that question, I think some of their fears will be allayed.
There are those who will say this proposition by the Tax Reform Committee, as captured in that bill presented by the president to the National Assembly, is aimed at pushing the states to be able to do more. And if there is more in that sense captured in the net, there's more money into that, but also give some level of competition amongst the state for you to be able to produce more. And the fact that I'm understanding that they're also trying to calculate how much each state is plowing into the net. So you get commensurate for what you plow. But in terms of global acceptable standard or the standards in some other climes that we can follow, how close is this proposition to it? Because we do know that our tax policies and some of our laws are outdated and as old as our colonial fathers. But the question is, how close are we in achieving almost a perfect tax system or achieving a tax reform that is reasonable to a large extent in that proposition, the bill that was proposed to the National Assembly?
So if you look at the principles of revenue allocation, I mean, equity is, one. For states that do not have the productive basis that they need to be able to generate revenues, there must be some buffer for such states. The principle of need is also another. In states where, for instance, are battling flood, states that are prone to flood or states that are battling insecurity, it is, it's evident that there must be, some effort by the central government to ameliorate the pains of those states. But there should also be, massive consideration for derivation, because there's an incentive for the states to contribute more to the pie if they get more from derivation. So I think this is something that everybody should be excited about. But then the fine lines on how this will be implemented is what I think we should be focused on. The principle of it, derivation, I don't think it should be contested by any government that thinks that it can be productive enough to, to contribute to the national pie for everybody then to share. That's my humble opinion.
So, I mean, before I allow you to go, I was asking, in comparative analysis, how close are we in getting it right with that proposition? Is it close to a reasonable, global, acceptable standard of taxation?
So experts will tell you that there is no globally accepted, position of what a federation should look like. Different arrangements work in different countries based on, their contextual positions. But what is also clear is that in a federating unit, as the case may be, like I had said earlier, or in a federation as the case may be, the different federating units must sit and contest and negotiate the terms for which they seek to coexist as a federation. But there's no template, that works across board. Different countries adopt different systems that work for them.
Inobong Usang is the head research and policy at Budget. Thank you so much indeed for the insight and some of the perspectives you've shared with us. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.